The reason that mentorship is important is because you don't know what you don't know. What a mentor does is it reveals the blind spots. Having a mentor is like a course corrector. It's a sounding board. It's somebody who's been down the road that you want to go. When picking a mentor, it's got to be somebody who's further down the path in the same opportunity that you want to be. See, I think a lot of people have it wrong. I think a lot of people, they choose the career and the vehicle and then they build the dream. I built my dream first, and then I found the vehicle that had the horsepower. I needed a rocket ship that I could put rocket fuel in to get me to where I wanted to go. I want to own a private plane for different reasons than I think people think. You know, a lot of people want to own a plane because it's a flex on Instagram. But when you own a plane, you can do a team meeting in Saskatoon. It can be over at 4 p.m. You can be on your plane at 4:30 and you can be home for dinner. The amount of time that it saves is life-changing. Hey, you guys, welcome to the vlog. We're super excited you're here. You guys are in for a treat. You're gonna get an inside look on how to run a championship team. We're doing some Zoom mentorship questions from some of our top up-and-comers. We're doing a podcast today with the one and only Mike Sherard. I have a private boardroom meeting later with a bunch of my leaders. We're gonna coach them on what it takes to get to the next level. And then we got some great training tonight on why we're the #1 platform in the industry, how to track your business, how to compete, how to read leaders' bulletins. Look, as much fun as it is to watch this from the outside looking in, I promise you, it's 10 times more fun being on the inside looking out. Hopefully someday you could join us on this vlog. Looking forward to seeing you later. We'll talk to you soon.
Hey, Steve.
How are you, champion?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good to see you. A long time no see.
Right? I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, how's the family?
Everybody's doing really well, actually.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy to see where they're heading.
With the sake of time, Kelly, why don't we get into it? Why don't you start?
I want to thank you for taking the time that you do for all of our team, right? And some of the questions that I have been kind of pondering and not really sure where to go with is, how does one person shift from the production mindset that they were originally trained on to that recruiting mindset so we can take it from self-employed to a business?
That's a really good question. I think that a lot of people get stuck in the production mindset, right? The production mindset is a survival mindset, and you nailed it. It's a self-employed mindset, right? It happens in every industry. It happens in the insurance industry, a self-employed mindset. It happens in the real estate industry. It happens in the mortgage industry, right? It can happen in any industry where you have a license to do what you do. And production is what I refer to as the low-hanging fruit. It's the immediate satisfaction. It fulfills the immediate need. You help a family, money hits your bank account. Recruiting requires a vision. Without a vision, the recruiting's not going to happen. See, a lot of agents have it wrong. They think, man, I'm really bad at recruiting and I don't know how to build a team. It's not that people are bad at recruiting. It's not that they don't know how to build a team. It's that they lack vision. Because the bigger your dream, the bigger the team. You're always going to go to where your mindset is at. And when we're not feeling great about ourselves and maybe we lack some confidence, maybe we've been around a little bit and we feel stuck, we have a hard time seeing past the month. We definitely have a hard time seeing past the year. The thing that I recommend, Kelly, is really spending some time and working on your vision. You have to carve out time. Everybody works in their business, but the champions work on their business.
What are the top yet to be checked off items, the top 5 yet to be checked off items on your bucket list?
There's so many things on my bucket list. And this one to some people I think is misunderstood. I want to own a private plane. I want to own a private plane for different reasons than I think people think. You know, a lot of people want to own a plane because it's a flex on Instagram. It was about 2010 and I was having a meeting with my mentor, Ed Milet. And we were talking about owning a plane. And I said, Ed, do you think I should put owning a plane on my list? He says, absolutely. But he explained it to me in a way that I'd never been explained. He said, Steve, when you own a plane, you can do a team meeting in Saskatoon. It can be over at 4 p.m. You can be on your plane at 4:30 and you can be home for dinner. He said, you miss way less things. You're not saving any money owning a plane, but it's the time that you save. You can give a great speech on stage in Brandon, Manitoba, and then you don't have to miss the hockey game at 8 p.m. that night. He says the amount of time that it saves is life-changing.
How important is mentorship? in this business?
The reason that mentorship is important is because you don't know what you don't know. So what a lot of people do, Chris, is they just run towards something and they go and they keep their head down. But what a mentor does is it reveals the blind spots. Having a mentor is like a course corrector. It's a sounding board. It's somebody who's been down the road that you want to go. And mentors can come in all different size and packages. It doesn't necessarily need to be the person that brought you into the business. A mentor can be somebody else, but when picking a mentor, it's got to be somebody who's further down the path in the same opportunity that you want to be. You know, Brian Tracy wrote a book, and in the book he said, airplane is off course 99% of the time. As agents, we're off course 99% of the time, and every day we got to course correct. But if we're off track for 2-3 weeks without coming back on, it's going to be tough. Now, with that said, I think mentorship has to be earned. You know, I think a lot of people think they need a mentor, but if they're not showing up and they're not committed and they don't have goals and they're not putting in the work, they don't need a mentor. They need to figure out why they're here.
Question for you personally, what do you really want in life from this business?
Look, you know, I think it's easy to look at people that are further down the road and think that. I know I felt that at times where, hey, this guy or this gal's got everything. And I just want to first tell you that I don't feel like I have everything. I feel like I've accomplished a lot, and I feel proud of myself. I feel proud of my family for having gotten this far in business. But Arvin, there's always another level, right? I'm chasing things in my spiritual life. I'm chasing impact. The one word that comes to mind is impact. I want to have a bigger impact on people. My joy comes from impacting other people. I'm excited to see what I can help my kids become. I'm excited to see what my wife and I can become in our marriage. I'm excited to see what guys like you can do in our business. This has everything to do with I'm still a young man and I have many years left, God willing, with breath in my lungs. And I want to live my life through impact. I want to make a difference. And every time we hit a milestone, it's a little bit of validation that we're doing some right things. So my vision at the end of my life is to look back and say, you know what? I gave it everything I had to have an impact in every area of my life. And that's how I live my life. And that keeps me inspired. This has nothing to do with getting to $1 million a year and retiring and becoming the same version of me that I was before. This is way beyond that.
My money in.
Right?
What do I want when learning more? Thank you.
57.
I appreciate that.
Excuse me?
I'm off work.
You should have put 704.
That's not a lie. I showed up at 7:04.
Did you?
Yeah.
I'll check the camera. Just kidding. No, you didn't.
I did.
How did I guess?
You know what? You saw the camera.
Building leaders. Hey, Hammy. What's up, brother? Thanks for having me. Feeling blessed to be here with you.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. This is coming full circle because one of my first videos ever was an interview with you back at your old office. And, you know, I was just so inspired by your story, and you had this huge following, and you're, you know, hanging out, mentored by Ed Milet and all of these things. And it's been incredible to, you know, be on this journey together now and, you know, see what's happened over the last few years. So, you know, what is your advice to somebody that has a team, is trying to lead and is maybe getting frustrated with people not putting in the work, or they're struggling to scale? Like, as a leader, what kind of led you to being such a great leader, and your advice to other people looking to become a leader?
Wow, that's $1 million question right there. You know, one of the philosophies that I got from my mentor a long time ago, and it's kind of a slogan that I tell myself, is I treat everybody like they're going to be with me forever, but I run my business like they're all going to quit tomorrow. I don't wait for anybody. That's the first thing. I see a lot of up and coming leaders, Mike. They'll start building their team. They'll lay these eggs and they'll sit on their eggs and wait for them to hatch. If you want people to run with you, you have to start running. So what a lot of leaders do is they run out of the gates. They have some success. They start building, and then they stop and they become a cheerleader and they become a manager. And I told my team the other day, I said, hey, if you want to be a manager, you should go get a retail job, $75,000 a year, you're home for dinner and you get some benefits. That's what managers make, $75,000 a year. But if you want to be a leader, you got to lead, right? You got to lead. You know, our business, you and I, when we have a whole team show up, we're leading a volunteer army. None of my guys are on my payroll. They show up because they want to be there, which I think is the greatest leadership challenge in the world. Hey, if you're a CEO of a big company and everybody on your team is making 80 grand a year and they have to show up to your damn meeting, yeah, are you really a leader? No, you're a leader when they all show up on their own time because they want to. So that's the first thing, is the mindset, is that if you're not willing to do this with or without anybody on your team, you haven't made your decision yet. You just know when you're following somebody, like Ed talks about always having a little bit of like dynamic friction, where you got to decide that you're not just one of the guys, you're the damn leader. And when you're around somebody like an Ed or a leader, it should always be a little bit uncomfortable. Like even me and you, like I have so much respect for you and I've seen your journey, but when I'm around you, I just want to level the hell up, right? So you have to become that person. You can't be waiting for people and sharing all your frustrations and your struggles. And man, leaders vent up, never down. In the eyes of your team, everything's great. Everything's positive. Everything's working good. There's a comp change with the company. It's going to be unbelievable, right? Stock plan change. It's going to be the best thing for our company. You got some concerns, you vent up. So you got to be seen as the leader so that when you're around people, right? You have that ability to challenge them and they'll respond because they respect you. So if you want to build an organization, and you mentioned it earlier, right? Out of all the 980 people in my downline, there's probably 400 I've never met, to be honest. 300 I've never met. We're never in the same room at the same time. But you can build an army. If you build 7, 10, 15, 20 frontline people, right? You can build an army. One-on-one time with me, just like one-on-one time with you or anybody watching this, if you treat your time like you're a $20 an hour guy, people are going to treat you like that.
So many people, as you alluded to, treat their time as just disposable, freely disposable. Yeah. And then people take advantage of that. So how do you go about allocating your time and identifying the people that have promise in them?
Yeah, it's, we speak the same language. I use the analogy of when you're in the airplane and they talk about if the oxygen mask falls, even if you're sitting beside your 5-year-old, you got to put your own oxygen mask on first. And I think so many people, to use the drowning analogy, like if you jump in to try and save someone that's drowning, chances are you're going to drown too. It's easy to get caught in the team activity. It's easy to get caught up in babysitting and managing. And I think people come by it honestly because they were self-employed and now they're building a team and they feel a sense of responsibility. Well, listen, not everybody that starts the journey with you is going to end. Just remember this. There's people that I recruit on my team that are really good people. They're sitting at my desk, husband and wife, hand in hand, crying about how this is going to change their life, their kids' future. And then 6 months later, they didn't get rich quick enough and they're on to the next. That really used to bother me until I was reminded this one day of, listen, maybe those people are in your business to learn something about themselves and maybe they're there for you to learn something about you. Not everybody is going to be there long-term. I tell most of my leaders, until you have a huge team, like 70 to 80% of your day should be focused on personal prospecting, personal sales, personal development. You work on you. As soon as you start to slow down to let everybody speed up, you're going to get smoked, right? Remember in high school, everybody wants to date the pretty girl that's on the move, right? Every girl wants to date the jock who's like a bit of a douche, but like they still wanted him. Why? Because everybody wants to be around somebody that's a little bit elusive, that there's almost a mystique to them. If you're too available, right, they're going to walk all over you. One of the things I train my team on is that every time you call a teammate to check in, right, I'm always like, hey, Sarah, how you doing? Good. How's your day going? Good. What's going on? Chit chat. How the kids? Good. And then I always say, hey, listen, you know what, man, I just got off the phone with Mark. Man, he just closed his 3rd deal for the week. This team's on fire. Or I'll say, awesome. That sounds awesome. And I'll tell him about my day. Man, I'm so fired up too. I just brought my 3rd direct for the day, right? Just closed 15K. I just want them to know that there's a lot going on outside of them. So as much as I care about them and as much as I'm there to see them win, I want to remind them that they're not the only game in town on my team. And that whether they do this or they don't, Steve Holbrook's going to be okay. I love you guys. I respect all of you, but this team's going to the top. Ideally, it's with this group, but either way, we're going to find our way there.
The mindset that you needed when things got real, because you've been in a dark place. You've had some terrible things happen to you, the health and you know, I see that happening a lot right now in real estate is people are down and out. They're flooded with negative thoughts and they're always in this kind of woe is me mentality and they're struggling to bounce back. You know, when you were in those times where you lost 75 pounds and you were connected to every gadget under the sun, what was pushing you to say, I'm going to come back from this and I'm going to build this bigger and better than ever?
All I kept thinking about, bro, is the comeback. I would lay there and think about the comeback. Like you guys think about your favorite movie, the one that has the comeback, right? I'm a sucker for comeback stories. I'm a sucker for the underdog. I'd literally lay there and I would design my comeback. And the further I fell, the more I was like, man, the comeback's going to be even bigger. The day I got out of the hospital, on top of my whiteboard, I was 128 pounds, withering away. Every single one of my veins was blown. I had tape all over my body. I just got out of the hospital. I went to the office. On the top of my whiteboard, I wrote Steve Holbrook, the comeback kid. And I said to myself, this is going to be one hell of a motion picture. So when you're down and when you're out, just remember, the further you fall, the bigger the comeback, right? And it's every setback is set up for a comeback. So if your mindset is, if you have a defeatist mindset and you're always feeling down and always feeling defeated, you got to change your mindset, right? I'm not here to quote all Ed Milet quotes, but he always says things happen for us, not to us. But every opportunity that you guys have, look, if you've had 3 slow months or 6 slow months or your best guy just quit, this is where you figure out where you're made out of. This is the story that you talk about in 3 years from now on stage when you're winning MVP. Nobody gives a crap about the story of the guy that overcame no obstacles. Nobody cares about that. In fact, we talk about leadership. Nobody can relate to that. People relate to your struggles. What you're going through right now, you're gonna have the authority to talk about when you get through it, and you're gonna inspire a single mom who's struggling, and you're gonna retain her, and she's gonna win because you got your ass off the mat. That's the kind of stuff that I think about when I'm struggling. I make it about other people. All right, the first question comes from Jake. Jake asked this: from your experience, why do you think people get stuck in between 100,000 and 250,000 a year and never bust through $250,000? I've been floating around 180,000 for the last 9 months or so, and I feel like I'm close to that lid. I'm close to busting through, but I can't quite pinpoint it. That's a great question, Jake. You know, we talk a lot in our team about the 6-figure trap. Most of my leaders get stuck between $125,000 to $200,000 a year. So why is that? Well, first of all, it's because it's where their identity is. You're never going to out-earn more than your identity. And here's the thing with $150,000 to $200,000 a year. You can earn most of that personally. So to make that kind of money, you have to go to work and you have to grind, but you get to a point where you can't really do more meetings and you can't possibly work any harder, so you get capped. So how do you bust through? Duplication. If you want to get to $250,000 or 3 or 4 or 500,000 a year, it's not how good you are anymore. It's how good your team is. So I want you to take a look at your team and ask yourself, how many people can do what you do at the level that you do it at? And once you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, depending on how much income you want to make, that's when you're going to see your income grow exponentially. That's when you're going to see yourself break through that $200,000, $300,000 a year. But if you want to make $250,000 a year and beyond, you got to get some help and you got to duplicate. Okay, this question comes from Josh, and he asked me through my Instagram channel. He said, what was the one thing that changed your business? Now, there's a lot of things that changed my business, but the first thing that came to mind is this. What changed my business is when I developed a relationship with my mentor. Once I had a mentor, once I had somebody in our business that was further down the path that believed in me, I felt unstoppable. It propelled me to new levels. The lows didn't seem so low. When I was high, I had somebody to share that with. And of course, you guys know my mentor in business is Ed Milet. And once him and I connected, and once we started to build a relationship, everything changed for me. You know, it was just a subtle shift from the outside looking in, but from the inside out, it changed everything for me. I believed that I could do it. I had somebody that had been down the path. I knew that I could work hard and that I was not a quitter, but I needed somebody who could see my blind spots and was further down that path. And when I found that person in my business, in my life, everything changed for me. What's one thing about leadership you believed early on that is no longer true? Wow, that's a really good question. And I had to think about this one before I answered it. But here's one thing. Early on, when I didn't really understand leadership, I didn't really have a team, I thought leadership was all about title and position. I thought, once I get the title, once I get into a certain position, everybody's going to listen to me. And that could be the farthest thing from the truth. Leadership is about trust and influence. Trust and influence. If you don't have trust, nobody's going to listen to you. If you don't have influence on your team, then it doesn't matter what you say, nobody's going to do it. So I spent a lot of my career building trust to gain influence so that when I challenge somebody, they do it. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter what your title is. If people don't trust you, you will have no influence. So focus on that and you'll become a great leader. What's up, guys? Wow. You know, every single one of you in this room is in a different position in the business, but I feel like some of you in this room are ready for like a huge breakthrough, right? You're just on the precipice of something big. I feel like some of you are ready for your comeback, right? Maybe you're not where you want to be. I've been at all those spots, but I don't think there's anybody in this room that shouldn't have the expectation of being an SMD in this team.
You mentioned comeback at the beginning.
Yeah.
So this one is along that line. So what do you do when you're in like a slump? Everyone's saying no to you.
Yeah.
Right? What do you do to get rid of that dark cloud? Do you approach that comeback?
So here's what most people do, Hubik, is they run away. When a wounded animal gets shot, they crawl deep into the woods and they bleed out and die. The only way to get out of a funk and have a comeback is to create what I refer to as framework. You have to create some framework. You can't trust your own emotions. You can't trust your own decision making. I never trust the decision I make at rock bottom. I don't. So whatever, I'll just say, use an example. Okay, let's say you're going through that and you're struggling. I wouldn't trust anything that you said. I wouldn't trust maybe I can not work out today, or maybe today I can show up at 10, or what you do is you create framework on paper. You create every structure. So you map out your week and you map out your calendar and you have to create some wins. See, everybody thinks that I showed up to the office every day early on because I like to show up to the office. It's because I was so afraid of losing that one of the only things that I knew how to do was show up at the same time every day. And when you show up the same time, when you go to bed at night and you look at your calendar and you go, tomorrow I'm gonna be in the office at 9 a.m. When you show up at 8:55 and you do that consistently, you start to trick yourself into believing that you can do this thing. So what I do, and Ed taught me this, is you have to create, I call it framework. You have to figure out what does the calendar of a winner look like, right? And what you do is you set yourself up for little wins, because little wins lead to big wins. You can't run your day on emotions anymore. You can't run your day on how you feel. So when everything feels like it's falling apart, when everybody feels like they're canceling, when nothing feels like it's working, that's when you really got to start showing up. You really have to start doing some things you've never done. It's kind of like when you hit rock bottom with your health. You got to get to a point where you look yourself in the mirror and go, screw it, man. If I don't get my shit together, I'm gonna have a heart attack. And then I'm good at nobody. And I'm telling you right now, by I don't care what it is. Let's say you've built this framework, like, okay, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm at the office by, let's say 8:30, I'm just making this up, 8:30 to 9, I'm checking my emails, doing admin. From 9 to 10, I'm doing calls. I'm gonna call 5 people, okay? From 10 to 11, we got training. From 11 to 12, I'm gonna call the team. Starting at 1 to 5, that's when I'm gonna do all my one-on-ones. Then I'm gonna go home, hang out with the fam, whatever. And then I'm available on Monday, Tuesday to do a 7:30 and an 8:30 on Zoom at home. This is what I call framework, okay? So Sunday night, before your head hits the pillow, you look at your day and go, okay, tomorrow I'm gonna win my day. I'm gonna win tomorrow. I'm gonna get up at the exact time you say you are, whatever it is, 6:45 or at 5 a.m. and go to the gym. You have to start doing everything you say you're gonna do. So set yourself up to win. Don't do some crazy shit you can't commit to. I'm up at 5, I'm gonna be at the gym. Maybe you don't work out on Mondays. That's fine. I'm up at 6:45. Then get up at 6:45. Okay? Be at the office at 8:30. 8:45, you broke a promise to yourself. You got to start over again, right? You're there, you do this, right? But then you're like, okay, I got to call 5 people. So the night before, make a list of the 5 people you're going to call. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So Sunday night, you make a list and you write the 5 people you're going to call down.
Next one for me, for you, Steve. With the level of success that you have in your business right now, how do you consistently stay approachable? Like, ego doesn't seem to be an issue. How do you keep your ego in check and continuously stay the most humble guy in the office, it feels like?
I appreciate that, man. I just think I remember, like, I always think back to where I was where you were at, right? I was where you were at, bro. I remember being an MD, having good month and a bad month and not being where I want to be. And I remember how it felt going to events and going to offices and approaching people. And I think for me, like my whole life, like being really small and having Crohn's disease and really battling with my health, I always felt a little bit like the underdog. I was like the really nice kid that got picked on a lot. And I never wanted to make anybody else feel like that. Even in our business. You go to events and stuff and you see other people potentially or other teams or other companies and they brush you off. It just sucks. It's just such a bad feeling. So that's part of it. I never want anybody to feel that way. And for me, like when I was where you were at, I looked at somebody who made $1 million a year and thought that's success. But where I'm at, I don't look at that as success. It's achievement. I've achieved some things. But to me, my whole perspective of success has changed. Like success for me is being a great guy. It's being a good dad. It's making a mistake and apologizing for it. It's having a conversation with a teammate and calling them later going, dude, I shouldn't have said that. That was too intense. I apologize. That's success. So to me, success used to be about competing and now it's creating. I want to create. I want to build people. I want to help Fallon, right? I want to help Fallon get to SMD. I want to help her get to 100K. I want to help Wency make 250. Like, that's what I want to do. I don't set a lot of goals on income milestones anymore. That just comes with impact. I just want to make a difference. So I think just my perspective of success has changed.
How do you help new recruits transform their mindset from an employee to an entrepreneurship mindset?
I don't think there's anything wrong with them having a little bit of employee mindset in the beginning, as long as they treat this like a job.
Right.
But you really gotta instill the fact that they're in control of their own destiny here. It depends on exactly what we're dealing with, but employees, their mindset is I put in an hour, I get paid for an hour.
Right.
So you got to talk a lot about delayed gratification. You got to talk a lot about, hey, there's a 90-day lag in results. You got to talk a lot about creating framework. Okay, you work 9 to 6. So I ask questions like, when are you not available to do your business? I'm not available 9 to 5. Okay, when else are you not available? I'm not available Friday nights. Okay, I have church. Okay, what else? Other than that, I'm free. So then everything else, other than family time, everything else, you're available to do your business. You really got to talk to them about setting hours of operation for their business. Because their whole thing is, well, I'm not getting paid to come to training. Well, that's not how it works, right? So one book I always recommend is The Entrepreneurial Roller Coaster by Darren Hardy. I think it's a good book. I think it introduces them to business and business mindset. The Slight Edge book is always good. But the whole thing with delayed gratification. Nathan, we have to be consistent now, right? What we do now is going to pay off 90 to 120 days from now. And then share with them, hey, here's what I did to be successful. Here's my framework, right? I had a meeting with my mentor and I struggled, right? I didn't even have a job, but I struggled with framework. So here's what I did for me. So let's sit down and do the same with you. So let's look at when are you not available? Okay, great. So here's when you're available. Awesome. So what are the top 3 things you want out of this business in the next 6 months? Okay, you want to get to $3,000 a month. Great. What else? You want to save 10 grand cash. Perfect. What's one more thing that would make a huge difference for you in this business? And you write them all out. Say, all right, Okay, so let's back engineer $3,000 a month. So then you back engineer it, and then you look at their schedule and say, let's create some framework where you can't lose. Okay, if you got to be on 3 meetings a week, we got to book 5. Okay, but if we're going to book 5 meetings a week, we probably want to be, adding. We need a new top 25 list every month. So now you look at their calendar, and you're booking times once a week to build inventory. You're booking 2 half-hour phone zones. When are you available to do field appointments? Okay, Monday, Tuesday, you're all mine. Wednesday night, game night. Thursday, family hockey. Friday's date night. Sunday's church. Saturday from 1 to 3, you're all mine. How does that look? I like that. Okay, perfect. So here's the time you're going to do it. Okay. So then every day they have some tasks. So you show them their business, you talk about delayed gratification, but then you get them to treat it like an employee. Because at the end of the day, we're all employees of our business. The question is, would you hire yourself tomorrow, or would you fire yourself? Like, it's Wednesday. If you go back Monday, Tuesday, would you have been fired from your business? Is there enough evidence to keep your job here? So, it's an ongoing thing, but you constantly got to be in their head. You constantly got to be in their minds about how this is a business, and you got to invest time in your business, but then remind them of what this is all for.
I think realistically, to be honest with you, man, I think we could do EMD by December of next year. Really do it. And I think if we swing for that and really run for it, I think we could do the 250K ring too.
Okay. I think we can get to at least 12 or 13.
But by the end of the year?
Yeah.
Pro for sure.
Yeah. And then by the time the system closes, which will be January 10th, that's when the promotion goes in.
Energy's here, you're not ready for the one. Energy's war, I've never been glam. Energy sure like Mars will land, like a missile straight to the plan. Energy's more than everything, man. Energy's mad, don't mess with the rum. Certain things
give yourself a round of applause. Okay, I want to give you a little history lesson. When Aegon bought us in 2001, they dumped in millions of dollars into our infrastructure. A lot of people say, well, how can you guys be recruiting? How is it that out of every licensed agent in Canada last year, 1 out of 2 came from WFG? How is it in the United States, you guys are the fastest growing independent broker in North America? How has that happened? Now, why are you guys growing so quick? How do you guys expand so fast? How do you help so many families? It's because we have a back office system. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time today navigating you through that. And look, this could seem like a little bit of lower law, but this is what should give you confidence in our business. Does that make sense? This is what millions and millions of dollars of spending on technology. And by the way, earlier this year, Aegon told the senior leadership, they got the go-ahead, they're going to invest $100 million in our company in the next 5 years. $100 million more is coming to our company. And we're not just going to be a force to be reckoned with in North America. We're going to be the leading global company of financial education. But you got to treat this like a business. Right? Are you treating your business like a business? Are you gathering inventory? Are you following up with people? Are you running reports? Are you checking the leaders bulletin? Are you competing at your level? All this stuff is there for us. You guys think that I'm so smart, I'm just, you got to be a certain IQ level. Well, Ethan, we know that's not true, right? All you got to do is know how to run a business. And if Trap and I can do it, you guys can do it. Right? You got to get good at focusing on making calls, getting directs, running people through the system progression, and the entire back office system takes care of itself. If you like this training, make sure to watch this next one because I know you're going to love it.